Leslie, I'll tell you what. I had a great time when you visited me in New York City. You might remember that. Your son was there with his girlfriend, and we had a very nice interview. And I was getting ready to put it out on the radio, and then all of a sudden, it got lost. So I panicked, and I had to reach out to the guys that were helping you at that time. I think they got really mad at me because I never got another box of cannoli since. But you've always been one of my favorites. I like your history, where you come from, your roots, and what you're doing right now. Before we get to your current project, The Soulmates, and Ian Anderson talking about all of that stuff, why don't you tell everybody who's listening right now, who is Leslie Mandoki? And did I say it right? Mandoki or Manduki? I mean, I don't know why. Mandoki. All right. I got it right the first time. Why do I even question myself? So give us a little bit of your history growing up, because it's really intriguing in that you're one of the very few people that I know that would understand what Radio Free Europe is all about.
Oh, well, Radio Free Europe was actually the only source part of Voice of America, coming out of Munich from the English Garden, but giving us young musicians behind the Iron Curtain the music of freedom. And funny as it sounds like, maybe today to everyone who is listening to us, it is Mikhail Sergeyevich Gorbachev, who was with President Reagan, created the end of the Cold War and brought down the wall. And the Hungarian, freedom fighters were bringing down the Iron Curtain. Actually, Mikhail Sergeyevich Gorbachev in my studio told me that, the Voice of America and Radio Free Europe, these two American radio stations, were the most technically disturbed stations, because we knew that the sound of freedom, the soundtrack of the student freedom fighters, is coming through Voice of America and from the English Garden, yes.
Well, the English Garden in Munich is a very beautiful place, a very big place. And I had no idea that that's where Radio Free Europe originated from. Where exactly in English Garden would that be? Was it one of the side streets? When you're wandering around, could you actually find it?
This is the only building, actually, in the garden itself. It's the old English American kind of culture center, the Anglo-Saxon Culture Center before the World War, and it's turned out to be the central station for Voice of America and Radio Free Europe. So this is if you are at the Chinese Tower, then you walk up north, and you will. The only building in the garden is this historical radio station.
Oh, well, next time I go to the English Garden in Munich, I'll have to go check that out. I had no idea. I know exactly where you're talking about, the Japanese pavilion, where they have the outdoor food, where you can get your bratwurst and your beers. And boy, the beers are huge everywhere in Munich. Munich is such a lovely city. Yeah. Is that where you are right now? I know you're in Bavaria somewhere.
I'm living here for ages, and actually, in the meantime, nearby Munich, by the Lake Starnberg, it's just the studio is overlooking the lake and the mountain, the alpine areas, and I'm living with the family waterfront down at the lakes. Is wonderful.
Oh, that's beautiful. Listen, when I come back to Munich next year, I'll have to look you up and say hi, and maybe we can
absolutely. You're more than welcome. So this is a real paradise that we have here.
Oh, listen, people have no idea how beautiful that area of Germany really is, Bavaria. And then you could take the train from Munich and go to Venice, or you can go to Salzburg. It's like the central place for rail travel in that section of Germany. Now that you are affected by the COVID-19, you did some very interesting things with Ian Anderson, and you have the Soulmates project. Why don't you give us a little bit of background what's going on right now with Mandoki?
Oh well, you asked the right first question. No one asked in my whole life the start with Radio Free Europe. So actually, the reason why I escaped communism because I was a kind of young freedom fighter in the terms that I was the rock and roll voice of the student opposition against communism, and so. We got out through a tunnel as I was 22, and I was a rock star actually, and a forbidden rock star. So I always trouble with the police and shutdowns and arresting. So and with a friend of mine, Lars Banker, who was a long time my musical companion, and the Gabo Chupo, you know his work in America. He's the guy who started his career in Los Angeles in Hollywood with Simpsons as a cartoonist, and then Rugrats and Duckman and Real Monsters. So he made it big in America. So, and actually, as I was getting into the refugee camp, and I've been asked by the American officer, hey boy, we understand really that you wanted to leave the communists, but what the hell are you going to do here now, invest in freedom? And my answer was, I would like to play with Ian Anderson, Jethro Tull, and Aldi Maola, and Jack Bruce of Cream. And back then, 75, probably the greatest and most well-known superstars of progressive art rock or jazz rock. So that's how it started, and it was taking a couple of years, and then I was producing my life away. I became a pop star, and I was working in studios. It was the big time of Munich, you know. Elton John was recording a couple of albums here, and Deep Purple was recording here, Rolling Stones, Queen. I mean, Freddie Mercury was even living in Munich, and Donna Summer was here, you know, Giorgio Moroder, and so on. So it was the big, you know, era of Munich song. And I was just a new kid in town, and I played with everyone and everything. And then later on, I produced Phil Collins and Lionel Richie and Chaka Khan. So I did many things and worked for Disney and the soundtracks. And 29 years ago, finally, the great dream, the vision, came to reality. As my father said in his death, but as I was 16 and I'm the boy, you should go and live your dreams and don't dream your life. And that's how it came. And actually with Ian Anderson, Jethro Tull, and Jack Bruce of Cream, and Aldi Meola, and Dave Clayton Thomas of Blood, Sweat and Tears, and Bobby Kimball of Toto, and Chris Thomas of Manfred and Earth, and then John Harlow of Supertramp. So we just started to create new, fresh music 29 years ago, and we still do it. And the new album is out right now called Mandoki, Soulmates, Living in the Gap, and the soul, you know, Hungarian Pictures, and this is a new double album. It's a new art rock album, and I'm so happy that America picks up on it, and I read the reviews, and this is wonderful, and it's great. And so thank you for having me now also on your show. You were with us in a Beacon Theater in New York, as we were, you know, we've been invited by the Grammy organization. So we're just doing it, and we move, and we are trying to create fresh new music for the kids. With a lot of young songwriters like Corey Henry on Hammond and Richard Bona and so on. But everybody, Ian Anderson and the rest of the gang is with us, of course.
We are talking with Leslie Mandoki. You can go to the site mandoki-soulmates.com to see what's going on and check out some of the new music, which is fantastic. It's one of the greatest bands you can possibly put together and possibly imagine, including the great Ian Anderson, who flouts around with his flute. Does he still wear the tights, or he doesn't wear the tights? I'm just kidding around. Does he wear lederhosen? You guys wear lederhosen when you're in the studio?
He still do it the same way, and he will never get old. You know, it's just he lost a little bit of hair, but part of that, and he's just. I mean, since 30 years I know him, he's the same. So however you remember to Jethro Tull, he's a genius, and he's playing, and his friendship, and it's just a great thing. It's just a blessing. It's just an incredible intellectual. It's one of the greatest artists of mankind.
You know, without a doubt, very intellectual and intellectually curious, which I think adds to his music. The idea of just taking a flute and putting it in with a rock band is really avant-garde when you think about Jethro Tull. Funny that in the mid-'80s, they won for an MTV award for the best heavy metal band. Like, I don't know how that happened, but he probably told you that story. Leslie Mandoki, do you ever get involved? I know this is because of COVID-19, and it's kind of sad in a way. Eurovision is a big thing in Germany and throughout Europe and Ireland and the UK and Italy. What is it like going on right now as far as the Eurovision, and were you ever part of it? And do you think it'll be coming back in 2021?
I mean, well, we all do not know how COVID-19 will, unfold in the upcoming year. I mean, we hope that vaccine is coming up around, and things are getting better and better, and we all overcome this incredible challenge, and especially also not only regarding that we all stay healthy, but we also, we get back to normal life. Also, the economy, the whole society survives this challenge. This is about it. So I hope that, Eurovision Song Contest comes back to the way it was. Let's see. We will see. I mean, this is a great challenge what we are going through. It's a long, dark tunnel. And this is, we are trying to create with our music, with our new album, Living the Gap and Hungarian Pictures, Mandoki Soulmates, actually the light at the end of the tunnel. And Ian Anderson and myself, we created this song, and all the others got joined in our isolation, because my wife is a first responder. She's a frontline worker. She's a doctor. So I really had the feeling much earlier than everybody else that something horrible is walking on our face, and this is just something horrible. Especially because my Chinese musician friends from the Chinese opposition, they were calling us in January and kept us telling that it's horrible. This pandemic is coming, and my wife was just on the spot on as a doctor. And Ian Anderson and myself, we just were both in one isolation and our quarantining, and so that's how we created that song. It's a non-profit song, as a charity, for the doctors, to the nurses, to the supermarket workers, everybody who keeps the world turning, even if it's slower, because we have new heroes in our life. These are the nurses and the doctors, everybody who takes care of us in this need.
And Leslie Mandoki, we all can be heroes, and it's very simple. Love thy neighbor. Put the mask on. Don't make a big deal of it. When you have to be around other people, you just put the thing on. There also comes common sense things in regard to that as well, and I'll give you an example. If you put the mask on, and a lot of people go, all right, a doctor wears a mask all the time. So does a nurse when they're in surgery. Keep in mind that the medical professionals wash their hands thoroughly, they put the mask on, and they don't futz with it. And then when they get another patient, they wash their hands again. They wash their hands after the procedure. They wash their hands before another procedure, and they change the mask. Just be careful how you handle your mask if you're listening right now. Don't put it on a table and then put it back on your face, or put your hands on contaminated surfaces and then futz with it, because you can infect yourself that way. You have to use common sense when it comes to using the mask. And these things that we hear ever since Grandma was raising us, wash your hands, just the basic things. On top of that, Leslie Mandoki, you're being creative during these circumstances, during the COVID-19 crisis. Many people are working from home and starting to be more creative. And I think that instead of looking at all the negatives with COVID-19 worldwide, we can take this pandemic and make it into an opportunity to, really work harder to be better family members and better neighbors. In other words, you're stuck in the house together. Learn to live and you get to know your kids, get to know your spouse, get to know your grandma and grandpa, who's ever in your house. Watch out for your neighbor. Those kind of things. Those are all good things. And you being from a communist bloc country, probably more so than the average person, can fully appreciate what I'm talking about. So maybe you can share some of your Leslie Mandoki wisdom as people try to synthesize what's going on with COVID-19 and as we move forward.
Oh, well, thank you so much to give me this ball on my side. Number one, we should be very, very careful that in this COVID-19 pandemic times and the shutdown and home officing and be home, that we are not getting back to our echo chambers. Because the social media and these news bubbles are dangerous. because algorithms are telling us, that we should stay in our bubble and we should stay in our echo chamber. So that's what exactly we should do, to go out, be human. So we should forget all this greediness. Let's leave this behind, and let's try to find a better me, a better us, and let's find. And music is the greatest unifier. So what we are trying to do, we are trying to give back now, so to the heroes of our days. And we are so fortunate, that we are privileged. We are honored by the love of our audience. So we're walking on the sunny side of life. And now it's time to look, to go around in a family and trying to create this better me and better us, and better unity. And we have such a division in our life, and that's why I called the new album "Living in the Gap." That's the first song is telling about. So we have to build bridges over it. So we have to get united again in its true sense. So we have to live up to this classical American values, these mutual shared values of neighborhoods and family, we have to get out of this news bubble of greediness, so let's get human.
Yeah, I agree with you, Leslie. It's time to be more human. It's also time to appreciate the nature around us. One thing that I've noticed is now I know the different bird calls. I can tell a difference between a cardinal, a robin, a red-winged blackbird, a dove, an owl, hawks, and a few birds in between, even the sparrows. I mean, I've really been paying attention to the birds in my neighborhood. It's amazing the healing properties of nature.
Absolutely, this is so beautiful. I'm taking my canoe and I'm going out on the sea. This is wonderful. I'm really enjoying life, just slowing down a bit. So let's enjoy this moment of stopping, running behind our life, and let's create our destiny again. So let's be creative. Let's be just be tender and let's discover love of life again. So this is actually love of life and love of that really realize that life is very short. I mean, and it's too short, to mess it with this beautiful time. So,
yep.
So let's go ahead and create something great and create bridges, and let's overcome the division in a society. So,
right.
Because this is the greatest poison of our times.
Leslie Mandoki with Zach Martin here on NEWHD, where rock lives. And you touched upon many important points. And of course, there's the musical aspect and how it brings people together. If you ever got a chance to watch Eurovision on television, you'd see all of these European communities really galvanize and get together in a nice spirited competition. And music is the centerpiece. So if we can do more of that, we'd have less heartache overall. Enjoy the moment. Don't take today for granted, and don't count on tomorrow, because today is all we got guaranteed so far. You can follow Mandoki. Go to his website at mandoki-soulmates.com, Instagram, the Mandoki Soulmates, Facebook.com/mandoki.soulmates. And you can get the new music, find out more, and see what you can do to help say thank you to the COVID-19 pandemic responders, such as the hospital workers, the grocery store clerks, the food delivery drivers, and on and on. The digital EP, We Say Thank You, proceeds from the EP will be donated to the United Nations Foundation's COVID-19 Solidarity Response Fund in support of the World Health Organization, not to be confused with Who, the rock band. They got plenty of money. And the Mayor's Fund to advance New York City. Very good things to do. I do believe I got all the websites, got it all right. And before we leave, Leslie Mandoki, if you were to visit, if you're a person listening and you visit Munich and you go to Marienplatz or one of the other areas that are in the center of Munich, what is the best place to go for a beer? Because there were so many choices, I couldn't figure it out.
Well, good question. I would go to Hofbrauhaus.
Hofbrauhaus, yeah.
My suggestion.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Because it's very typical and very Bavarian and try it without the lederhosen, but with the lederhosen, it's just this is the leather trousers. And you can find them around the corner, and then you feel the original Bavarian feeling. This is great, I can tell you. But go there hungry, because there the food is heavy.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, I couldn't believe I was at the train station and I wanted to get something before going to Venice, and I go, "You guys got anything besides pretzels and sandwiches and beer?" Well, And then here's the other thing I found out after walking around the English Garden. North, as I was moving north, there's that gigantic memorial in the middle of the garden that you could see overlooking the English Garden. And I found that McDonald's, which is really good. A lot of Americans, when they go to foreign countries, they give up on anything that sounds American. Believe me, McDonald's is great when you're really hungry after walking through the English Garden. So don't be afraid to do that. The other thing that I need to know is I need to find a place to get a good deal on a cuckoo clock, because the prices were cuckoo.
Oh yeah, this is a great shop, and a big market. You have a kind of farmers market, a Victorian market you call it.
Oh,
and there is one. Then you find a shop there. This is only one there, so you're pretty much in the center, in the middle of it. It's beautiful.
Yes, I know what you're talking about. That market area. I believe it or not, this is the way it goes. I found it on the second to last day before we left. I'm like, oh, great. Yeah, I wish I would have known that this was here before, because the food's fantastic and it's not very expensive. Well, you live and you learn. But
it's great. It's really good. I mean, I would recommend it for everyone.
Yeah.
And try to get to our place. This is just nearby Munich. This is Lake Starnberg. It's one of the most beautiful spots around Munich. You see the alpine areas. You would swim in a lake in the summer, and the top of the mountains are snowy, so it's wild, beautiful, and this is just great. And we have here Europe's largest studio complex, and here we were meeting all these folks, the Mandoki soulmates with Ian Anderson and with all these genius giants of legends of rock and iconic masters like Ellie Mill, like Randy Brecker, and so on. So this is a beautiful area. So everybody's welcome, and more than happy to show you the studio. So,
oh man, that's fantastic.
It's just a big, Lionel Richie was recording with me here. Phil Collins was recording with me here. Chaka Khan and many other of the legends. So it's all welcome. And here is also, we have beer gardens by the water. So it's a wonderful place.
That's a win-win, Leslie Mandoki. I'll make sure that we stop by and see you when we're in Munich, probably sometime next year. And before we go, one more time, I want to tell everybody where they can go to find you online. That's Mandoki-Soulmates.com, Instagram.com/The Mandoki Soulmates, Facebook.com/Mandoki.Soulmates. So there you have it. Thank you very much, Leslie Mandoki. It was a pleasure talking to you. We talked music. We talked about Munich, Germany. Now, before we leave, I need to know, what is your favorite football team? Do you like München, or do you like 1860?
I'm the musical director of the FC Bayern, so this is the answer. I wrote all the anthems.
For who?
For FC Bayern.
Yeah. You go red. Okay, gotcha. Football Club Bayern.
So this is we are champions forever. So.
Oh wow, that's great. And that's something else that we'll do when we get back there. I'll make sure that I get an FC Bayern jersey, because I didn't do it the last time. Again, a little bit pricey, but I guess if you go to the arena, they probably have a good deal, right?
Arena's fine. I'm there every time, because I'm the musical director. I'm sitting with the famous Karl-Heinz Rummenigge and Uli Hoeneß, and I have a great atmosphere. It's beautiful. It's great.
That's fantastic. All right, hold on the line, Mandoki.